The moment Eddie Murphy stepped onto the Golden Globe stage and dropped the line, "Pay your taxes, mind your business, and keep Will Smith's wife's name out your mouth," the audience exploded with laughter. Cameras swept across the room, celebrities doubled over, and the joke instantly became one of the night's defining moments. But while most viewers saw it as a clever callback to the Oscars slap, others noticed something deeper beneath the humor. What makes the situation fascinating is that two legendary comedians, Eddie Murphy and Jim Carrey, appeared to be reacting to the same Hollywood moment in strikingly similar ways, despite coming from entirely different corners of the comedy world. These are not lifelong collaborators or close public allies. Eddie Murphy built his legacy in the 1980s with sharp, fearless stand-up and blockbuster films. Jim Carrey rose in the 1990s through high-energy physical comedy and unconventional performances. Their careers rarely overlapped, and neither depended on the other for relevance or approval. That distance is exactly why their reactions carried so much weight. Right after the Oscars incident, when many celebrities were carefully crafting diplomatic responses, Jim Carrey openly criticized the standing ovation Will Smith received later that same evening. He described himself as sickened by the audience's reaction and suggested the moment exposed something troubling about Hollywood culture. To Carrey, the applause wasn't just poor judgment. It symbolized an industry willing to protect its own image rather than confront uncomfortable behavior. Eddie Murphy approached the situation differently. Instead of delivering direct criticism, he used humor layered with implication. His Golden Globes joke worked on the surface as comedy, but Eddie Murphy has long been known for delivering punchlines that carry hidden meaning for those paying close attention. After more than 4 decades in Hollywood, he understands how to communicate with subtlety, especially in rooms filled with industry insiders who recognize the unspoken context behind certain remarks. That context became even more intriguing when Cat Williams suggested Eddie Murphy knows more about Will Smith than he has publicly revealed. According to Williams, Murphy's silence is intentional, not accidental. The implication isn't that Eddie lacks information, but that he has consciously chosen restraint. Coming from someone like Cat Williams, who has built a reputation around exposing uncomfortable truths about the entertainment industry, that statement added another layer of speculation to an already complex narrative. Murphy's own comments after the Golden Globes only fueled that interpretation. When reporters asked whether he had spoken to Will Smith since making the joke, Murphy answered carefully, "I love both of them." The wording stood out. Rather than siding with one person, he grouped both Will Smith and Chris Rock together, subtly positioning himself above the conflict instead of fully aligning with either side. For a veteran entertainer skilled in navigating Hollywood politics, every word seemed deliberate. He also acknowledged that if he had hosted the Oscars after the incident, he would have addressed the slap in some way before moving on. That response reflected a broader philosophy. Acknowledge the moment, but don't let it consume the entire conversation. Still, many observers believe Murphy's perspective reaches beyond a single award show confrontation. His remarks, combined with Jim Carrey's criticism and Cat Williams' hints, have led people to wonder whether these comedians see larger patterns within Hollywood that the public rarely gets to witness. At its core, this discussion is no longer just about one shocking moment on stage. It has evolved into a conversation about power, image, loyalty, and silence within the entertainment industry. When comedians with decades of experience begin speaking carefully, but consistently, about the same person and the same event, audiences naturally start looking beyond the headlines for the deeper story underneath. What Eddie Murphy seems to understand isn't limited to the slap itself, it's the environment surrounding it. He spent decades inside the same elite Hollywood circles, attended the same private gatherings, and watched the industry's inner dynamics unfold from the front row. That's why many people paid close attention when Cat Williams specifically connected Eddie Murphy and Will Smith during a public interview. According to Cat, Murphy isn't silent because he lacks knowledge, he's silent because he's deliberately choosing what not to reveal. Then there's the role Sean "Diddy" Combs played immediately after the Oscars incident. Unlike many celebrities who stayed cautious and quiet, Diddy inserted himself into the situation almost instantly. While presenting during the Godfather anniversary segment, he publicly announced that Will Smith and Chris Rock would solve that like family at the Gold Party. On the surface, it sounded casual and reassuring. But underneath, it carried another message. Diddy was presenting himself as someone powerful enough to mediate between two major figures in entertainment. The wording suggested familiarity, influence, and access to relationships the public couldn't fully see. A resurfaced interview with Jimmy Kimmel added even more intrigue. When rumors involving Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, and Jennifer Lopez were brought up, Diddy brushed them away with humor and quick denials. He laughed, redirected the conversation, and avoided engaging with the details directly. It was a textbook entertainment industry tactic: turn an uncomfortable topic into a joke so the audience moves on before asking deeper questions. Diddy had mastered that approach for years, using charisma and humor to keep difficult conversations from gaining momentum. At the same time, Jim Carrey's relationship with Hollywood was evolving in a very different direction. The public narrative framed his withdrawal from acting as a spiritual awakening or desire for a quieter life. But if you listen closely to his interviews, another layer emerges. Carrey often spoke in coded language, dropping hints about disillusionment with fame, power structures, and the culture surrounding the industry. This was not someone speaking from the outside. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Jim Carrey stood at the very center of Hollywood success. Films like Ace Ventura, The Mask, and The Truman Show made him one of the most bankable actors in the world, earning record-breaking salaries and enormous influence. He wasn't observing the system from afar, he was deeply embedded within it. Then came a noticeable shift. During an appearance on The Tonight Show, Carrey jokingly referenced secrets, lies, and even conspiracy symbolism while the audience laughed along. Most viewers dismissed it as another eccentric Jim Carrey moment, but some believed that was precisely the point. By framing serious observations as comedy or absurdity, he could speak freely without being fully challenged. If audiences interpreted it as performance, the statements lost their immediate threat. Over time, Carrey began openly discussing retirement. His comments didn't sound like those of a man burned out from acting alone. Instead, they carried the tone of someone stepping away from an environment he no longer wanted to participate in. When he said, "I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough," it sounded less like a financial conclusion and more like a personal reckoning, a decision that continued fame no longer outweighed the emotional or psychological cost of remaining inside the machine. That perspective becomes especially interesting when connected to Will Smith's career. While Carrey appeared to distance himself from Hollywood's inner culture, Will Smith continued thriving within it for decades, maintaining influence, admiration, and institutional support even after one of the most shocking moments in award show history. The events of March 27, 2022, intensified that contrast. Will Smith walked onto the Oscars stage, struck Chris Rock in front of millions of viewers, then later received a standing ovation and the Academy Award for Best Actor. To critics like Jim Carrey, the applause symbolized more than forgiveness. It represented Hollywood protecting one of its own in real time. Will Smith later admitted that the anger he displayed that night had been bottled for a really long time. That statement suggested the incident was not simply about a joke made in the moment, but the release of emotions that had been building beneath the surface for years. Chris Rock later reinforced that idea during his stand-up performances, reminding audiences that the confrontation wasn't just a random outburst everyone immediately forgot. According to Rock, the impact lingered long after the cameras stopped rolling. Taken together, the comments from Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, Cat Williams, Diddy, and Chris Rock create a larger conversation about Hollywood itself, its power structures, its culture of silence, and the complicated relationships between the people operating at the highest levels of fame. Chris Rock made a point that many people overlooked when reflecting on the Oscars incident. He repeated the phrase "everybody knows" not once, but twice, emphasizing that, in his view, the situation wasn't some hidden mystery or personal interpretation. He implied that the entertainment industry already understood there was a deeper context surrounding Will Smith's behavior, something larger than the moment audiences witnessed on stage. What stood out even more was Rock's refusal to frame himself as a victim afterward. He avoided lengthy emotional interviews and resisted turning the event into a public pity narrative. Instead, he absorbed the humiliation and kept moving forward professionally. Some observers interpreted that response as a sign that discussing the situation openly might require exposing uncomfortable truths about the culture and dynamics inside Hollywood circles, truths he may not have wanted to unpack publicly. Jim Carrey added another layer to the conversation when he commented on the slap shortly after it happened. Rather than simply labeling Will Smith as angry or unstable, Carrey suggested there was something going on inside him. The wording mattered. It hinted at pressure, frustration, or unresolved tension that had been building over time. Carrey seemed less interested in the slap itself and more interested in what it revealed about the emotional strain behind the scenes. To some critics, the industry's response became the real story. Will Smith struck Chris Rock on live television in front of millions, yet moments later he received a standing ovation and accepted the Academy Award for Best Actor. For people like Carrey, that reaction symbolized Hollywood closing ranks around one of its most valuable stars. The applause wasn't necessarily interpreted as approval of the act itself, but rather as evidence that the industry had collectively decided Will Smith's status and influence would remain intact despite the controversy. That perception only strengthened when Smith's career quickly rebounded. Media personality Charlemagne Tha God publicly noted that Smith appeared to lose very little professionally. His films continued performing well, major projects remained active, and his public brand largely survived the scandal. In an era where public figures have faced severe backlash over far smaller controversies, Smith's ability to recover so quickly led many people to question how much institutional protection powerful celebrities receive behind the scenes. As speculation intensified, attention turned toward people who had worked closely with Will Smith over the years. Some former associates and industry insiders began sharing stories and allegations that fueled ongoing rumors about hidden dynamics within Hollywood culture. Comedian Corey Holcomb spoke openly in interviews about what he described as unspoken realities inside entertainment circles, suggesting that certain forms of knowledge or awareness could affect careers and professional opportunities in Los Angeles. His comments reflected a broader idea often discussed in celebrity culture, that insiders may know far more about public figures than audiences ever see. Another figure who drew attention was violinist Brian King Joseph, who reportedly filed legal claims connected to his experience while working on Will Smith's tour. Joseph stated publicly that he faced retaliation after reporting misconduct and safety concerns during the production. The significance of the story wasn't just the allegations themselves, but the fact that the dispute escalated into a formal legal matter rather than remaining internet gossip or rumor. Discussion also intensified around Brother Bilal, a former assistant and longtime associate of Smith who made controversial public claims about the actor's private life. Bilal alleged he had witnessed compromising situations involving Smith and later expanded on those accusations in interviews and written material. Will Smith's representatives strongly denied the claims and described them as fabricated. The situation became highly publicized after Bilal insisted he possessed evidence supporting his account, while Smith himself chose not to engage publicly beyond official denials from his team. Then there is Jaguar Wright, who spent years making explosive allegations about powerful figures in the music and entertainment industries long before mainstream media began seriously discussing similar claims involving other celebrities. Wright became known online for accusing Hollywood elites of maintaining hidden systems of influence, silence, and protection. Whether audiences viewed her as a whistleblower or a controversial figure, her statements gained traction because they connected to growing public skepticism about celebrity culture and the inner workings of the entertainment business. Taken together, these reactions, allegations, and public comments have transformed the Oscars slap from a single shocking moment into something much broader in the public imagination. For many people, the incident became a lens through which they began questioning how Hollywood operates behind closed doors, who receives protection, who gets silenced, and how power functions inside an industry built on image and influence. Various entertainers and online commentators have continued building narratives around Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, and the broader culture surrounding Hollywood influence. One of the most repeated claims came from Jaguar Wright, who alleged that unusual behavior and troubling dynamics existed within the Smith household and mentorship circles. She referenced several young entertainers who, according to her, entered their orbit during important stages of their careers and later experienced personal or professional turmoil. Among the names frequently discussed is Brisha Gray, known for his breakout role on the TV show Empire. Gray's rapid rise in entertainment was later overshadowed by legal troubles and public controversies that dramatically changed the trajectory of his career. Online commentators have often connected his struggles to larger conversations about celebrity influence, pressure, and mentorship within the industry, although many of these claims remain speculative rather than proven. Meek Mill has also repeatedly been pulled into discussions involving Hollywood parties and entertainment industry rumors, especially following the legal controversies surrounding Sean Combs, also known as Diddy. At one point, Meek publicly offered money to anyone who could produce evidence linking him directly to the allegations surrounding Diddy's social circles. To many observers, the response reflected how seriously celebrities now treat public association with controversial figures and private industry rumors. Then there is August Alsina, whose relationship with Jada Pinkett Smith became one of the most publicly discussed celebrity revelations in recent years. During an episode of Red Table Talk, Jada confirmed that she and Alsina had been involved romantically during a period when she and Will Smith were separated. The discussion became a major cultural moment because of how openly it addressed private relationships, emotional struggles, and unconventional boundaries inside one of Hollywood's most famous marriages. Critics and internet commentators later contrasted Alsina's situation with stories about others who had allegedly distanced themselves from the Smith family entirely. As these conversations expanded, many online theories began tying Will Smith and Diddy together through their decades-long presence within elite entertainment circles. Both men rose to enormous fame during the late 1990s and early 2000s, attended many of the same high-profile events, and moved within overlapping networks of celebrity influence. Speculation intensified after comedian Cat Williams described witnessing unusual activity connected to exclusive Hollywood gatherings, including stories about celebrities attending private parties hosted by powerful figures in the industry. His descriptions fueled broader internet theories about secrecy, image management, and hidden power structures among entertainment elites. Diddy's reaction after the Oscars slap also became part of that larger discussion. By publicly saying Will Smith and Chris Rock would work it out like family, Diddy positioned himself as someone close enough to both men to mediate the conflict. For conspiracy-minded audiences, that language reinforced the idea that many celebrity relationships operate within tightly connected social systems that the public only partially sees. Other controversial voices added even more fuel to the speculation. Orlando Brown made explosive public claims involving Will Smith and alleged recordings connected to Diddy, though no verified evidence has surfaced to support those statements. Brown's remarks circulated widely online because they fit into an already growing narrative surrounding celebrity secrecy and rumored compromat within entertainment circles. What intensified public fascination even further were the federal investigations and lawsuits involving Diddy. As legal filings and accusations became public, many people began revisiting older interviews, celebrity comments, and rumors that had previously been dismissed as gossip. For some observers, the emerging legal scrutiny gave renewed attention to long-running allegations about power, leverage, and hidden behavior within elite entertainment spaces. Through all of this, figures like Cat Williams, Eddie Murphy, Jim Carrey, and Chris Rock have become symbolic pieces of a much larger conversation. Supporters of these theories argue that each comedian has hinted, through jokes, interviews, or criticism, that Hollywood contains deeper systems of protection and silence than audiences fully realize. Jim Carrey spoke about disillusionment with the industry. Eddie Murphy used layered humor to reference the Oscars incident. Cat Williams openly criticized entertainment power structures, and Chris Rock repeatedly emphasized that everybody knows more than they publicly admit. At the center of the discussion lies a broader public fascination with celebrity culture itself. People are increasingly questioning how fame, power, influence, and protection operate behind the scenes. The Oscars slap became more than a shocking live TV moment. For many viewers, it evolved into a symbol of how Hollywood responds when one of its biggest stars faces controversy. The central questions fueling these conversations remain unresolved. How much do powerful figures within entertainment know about each other behind closed doors? Why do some celebrities appear shielded from consequences while others disappear overnight? And how much of the public narrative around Hollywood is carefully managed compared to what actually happens in private? Whether these theories ultimately prove meaningful or remain internet speculation, they continue resonating because they tap into a growing distrust of celebrity institutions and the belief that audiences are only seeing carefully curated fragments of a much larger story.